What is up, parents? Listen, my name is Josh, and just super grateful to be able to journey with your fifth grader this school year. Now, here's the reality. Here's the truth. You're maybe going to be excited to hear this. Maybe you're not going to be excited to hear this, but you now have a rising sixth grader, okay? It is coming up on the cusp, and they are here. You have a rising sixth grader, and because you do, there's some things that are going to be available to them as they kind of grow in our ministry, and they're going to be going into students, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
this is, tell them who you are.
I'm David Branch. I'm the student pastor here at our John Young campus. Good friends with Josh. Pleasure to be here, man. Thanks for
Yeah,
having me.
that's right. That's right. And we're just so excited just to be able to transition them into
Yeah,
students. I just know
absolutely.
the heart that you and your team have for students and all
Yep.
of the things.
Yep.
So that's what's going to be happening. One of the things that exists now because of that is camp.
Yeah.
Camp Orlando.
Camp Orlando.
It's a thing.
Coming up, baby. Coming up.
I love that. I love that. So here in this video, here's what we're going to do. We're going to talk a little bit about what camp is,
Yep.
what you can kind of expect about camp, and then just some rapid fire questions at the end of some of the questions that I've heard from you guys that you're wondering about that you can help. And then any other relevant information going to be found on the website page
yeah.
at
Landing page.
registration time and all of
Absolutely.
that. That's cool.
Absolutely.
Great. So David, tell us why Camp Orlando. This has been a thing around here.
It definitely has.
Why Camp Orlando?
Yeah, so Camp Orlando actually has a 40-year-long legacy here at First Orlando. I know several people, parents and grandparents, who came to Camp Orlando as a student themselves who serve in our ministry. And so it has been the most important thing we'd really do in student ministry. It's the most resourced. So much fruit comes out of it every single year. But there's really one clear purpose that we have for Camp Orlando. It's to invite students into a personal relationship with Jesus and help those students take their next step. And so everything we do is we're gonna share the good news of Jesus, and we're gonna invite them to take the next step that He is inviting them to take when they go back home to Orlando. Just some specifics. It is typically 4 to 5 days long. We do a high school camp first, and then a middle school camp. In late July, we'll get to some of that stuff, but it's overnight, and it's just the best thing we do every single year.
I love that because one of the things that we look at are transition points, and from the fifth grade to sixth grade, that is a definitely transition point, and sometimes it's hard for kids to make that transition, right?
Totally get it.
So
Yes.
super love the fact that y'all have like middle school camp, which is just like specifically
Yep.
for
Yep.
that age group. So they're not going to be there with all of the kids and high school kids or whatever the case may be. They're going to be
Yeah.
there with their peers, those
Yeah.
that are around their age. So tell me a little bit about where Camp Orlando is. Where do you guys do that?
Yeah, so we have a years-long partnership with Southeastern University. It's in Lakeland, Florida. It's about an hour and a half away. We essentially take over their college campus. There's not college students on site. It is really just our student camp, using their facilities, using their equipment, using their rec fields and their dorm rooms, and that's where we stay. So it's close by. Many of our parents come by for services. We invite that. We want them to be a part of it. It's not too far.
That's good. That's good. What does it look like on a day-to-day? What does a typical day look like at camp for some of the kids?
For sure. Typically, breakfast is at 8 a.m., and then right after that, we'll have a small group time with a devotional time, trying to help students learn to read the Bible, pray, make their faith their own. We'll have that, and then we'll do a morning show. Morning shows, which Josh has actually helped us out at.
Yes.
a few times.
It's been great.
It is the place where we have a ton of fun, get hyped for the day, tell stories, crack jokes. It's a show. It's a morning show. After that, we go to rec. And rec is, many of you have been to camps. Rec is athletic. It's a little dirty, but it's a ton of fun, and we do it in the safest way possible. There's basically just a big field on their site where we plan games, and it's just a blast. Every student's going to get assigned a team, and that team is within the small group that they'll be a part of, and so they're really building community, having a blast, healthy, Jesus-honoring competition, Josh. Jesus-honoring competition.
Gets a little intense.
And they'll win a prize at the end of camp, and it's a blast. After rec, we typically go to lunch. We just use the cafeteria Southeastern University has, so all meals are covered. That's a part of your trip to camp. After that, we typically do something called Real Talks. What Real Talks are is what you've actually spoken at as well. Real Talks, that's our place to do equipping. What I mean by equipping is when I talk about helping students take whatever next step they need to take, there are some specific things that students need to hear about. Things such as dating, how to use technology, how to build good friendships, how to study the Bible on your own. There's these breakouts that we do that are just trying to help kids navigate a confusing world and do it in a Christ-honoring way. And then after that, we have free time. And then later that night, we do our evening services. And that is, it's a worship service. There's worship, there's, Lord willing, some baptisms, teaching, and just some sort of call to response afterwards with some small group time.
Love that. Love that.
Yeah.
So there is program time, and we kind of know what they're doing and when they're doing it as they're kind of navigating that. That's super good. So when is Camp Orlando this year?
It's July 11th through the 18th. Okay, so high school camp is July 11th through the 15th. Middle school camp is July 15th through the 18th. And so there's a transition day in there. But yeah, again, just like Josh said, we made a decision a few years ago. We used to do high schoolers and middle schoolers combined. And we just felt that our middle schoolers were kind of just getting lost in all the craziness. And so we really wanted to make an intentional effort and partner with you all as parents to give them the best experience possible. And so that's why we have a middle school camp. And so the middle school camp happens after the high school camp.
I love that. I love that. All right. So that's some of the information of that. And again, on the website, you're going to be able to find all more detailed information on what that is. Now, I just want to do some quick rapid fires before we wrap up with some of the questions that they may be having. So my first question is going to be, how, as a parent, how would I know, or what are some signs that you've seen with kids that they're ready to do an overnight? Because some of these kids are like, man, we've never let them go before. You know, this might be their first one. So what are some signs that you would say that you could see in a kid this is like, man, you know what, they might be ready for an overnight?
Sure, yeah, absolutely. You know, one of the things that I've encouraged parents with in the past is typically at a young age, there's always going to be some nerves. Like, I'm sure parents that are going to listen to this remember the time where they showed up to church for the first time, right? Or they went to a sleepover for the first time, or went to school for the first time at like middle school where you had to go to a bunch of classes. And there is, you know, this release that's healthy. It's not unhealthy. I would say, you know, I'm a parent now of a daughter of 1 year, literally today, as we're filming this video. It's her 1 year birthday.
Crazy.
As Sammy and my wife, have talked about it, I think the encouragement we got from some of our mentors on this kind of issue is whenever your student starts to demonstrate healthy independence, like they kind of begin to initiate some things for themselves, that might be a good opportunity to be like, all right, I think they're ready. You know, because I think what y'all say in kids ministry is we're not raising kids, we're raising adults.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And that impulse to be independent and to initiate and say, no, I really want to go to that, I think that's a good sign. Now, I recognize that some rising sixth graders may not be there, and that's okay. There are other opportunities that maybe we could talk about another time about maybe good baby steps for them to take to do overnight events. That we could talk about that.
Love that. Love that. So I think what I heard you saying is acknowledging that there's a tension there of like, man, whether or not I should send them or not, but those are some things that they could be thinking about as they navigate that. That's great. What does supervision look like at camp?
Absolutely. So we have a huge undertaking to make sure we have two gender-specific, grade-specific leaders in every small group. These are adults who have been what we call safe trained, and so we have walked them through all of our protocols. They've passed background checks, they've gotten references, and so every single leader that would serve with us at Camp Orlando that we would be asking you guys to entrust their students to us, they've been fully vetted. And so that's what that looks like. 2 adults, every group, gender specific, grade specific, and they have been fully trained, fully vetted, and background checked.
I love that. I love that. What is the rooming situation like?
Yep. So every student will have a roommate. We use the dorms at Southeastern University, so many of you have been to college. You kind of remember what that setup looks like. Essentially, in most of the dorms, it's a quad. And so there's a room with bunk beds, typically, or 2 beds that are kind of next to each other with a bathroom in the middle and another room on the other side with the same kind of setup. That's what most rooming looks like. They're not going to be rooming with adults. In addition, many of you are probably wondering, can I request roommates for my kid? Absolutely. You can request roommates. We make every effort to honor that. Sometimes in just like the science of it all, there's just sometimes where it just doesn't work out, but in most cases it does. And we want to give your kid the best experience possible.
Love that. And guys and girls.
Guys and girls, they're actually in completely separate buildings.
Yeah.
Completely separate.
Very smart.
For reasons I will keep left unsaid.
I love that. I love that. So we talked a little bit about what are some of the signs that kids may be ready. What if there's just a parent that's just like, man, you know what? I just kind of know my kid, don't think they're ready for this. How can they best set their kid up to try to connect to students if they're not going to camp? Because what I like to try to tell parents is that one of the reasons why I like camp so much for these rising sixth graders is that it's opportunities for them to start forging those friendships with those kids. And like a lot of times I see those that walk together there are the ones that are walking together on a Sunday morning and on a Wednesday night and all the things. So what about for those that just like, man, you know what? We're not in that season. We're not going to attend, but how else could they kind of connect?
Yeah, I would say just make sure, I really want to invite you to consider a deep participation in our Sunday morning small groups. Many of them probably are, and they plan on doing that, but just being deeply committed to this group of students and their leaders, it's just going to bring a level of safety and comfortability in sending their student off. So make sure you're involved in a Sunday morning small group. The other thing I'd add is we do have overnight events that are less of a time commitment. So we have an event like Serve the City, where it's here on our campus, so it's not far away. And a lot of students, a lot of middle schoolers find that's a really good on-ramp into committing to something like a Camp Orlando, which is 4 or 5 days long. Serve the City's only 2 to 3 days long. And a lot of our core kids come to that, and it'd be all very familiar. That might be a good baby step to take, and then next year.
I love that. Love that. Last question. As a parent, are there, if they're on the fence of wanting to send them and just like, man, if they were around, I would trust that they'll be doing what they need to do. So is there any opportunities for parents to be around or serve or anything like that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, sometimes there's this narrative that like kids, A, don't want their parents to serve with them, but B, our student ministry doesn't want parents to be there. That could be farther from the truth. We have a saying in our student ministry, we're not just a student ministry, we're a family ministry, and we really do believe that when the church is partnering well with the home, that it just tends to produce a lifelong follower of Jesus. And so parents, if you're wondering, A, is there a place to serve for me in student ministry? Absolutely. We want to make that happen. There's a number of ways we can do that, but B, if you want to serve at Camp Orlando, we would love to make that happen as well. Whether that's you serving in a different small group or serving your student small group, if you're the same gender, obviously, we'd love to make that happen. We can totally do that.
Love that.
Yeah.
Well, super excited for camp.
Yeah.
And super excited for your rising sixth graders. I got the opportunity to go there. Registration is kicking off when?
February 15th.
February 15th, that's
February
right.
15th,
Camp will go live. VBS will go live. So if you have any other kids, VBS will go live for that too. Any last things you want to say to them?
No, I would just say, man, one of the things that I've been becoming increasingly more passionate about is setting parents up well. Even as a parent now, as I'm taking that journey, I just see how influential they are in their students' lives, and we just want to come alongside and support. So
Love that.
We can do that.
Love that. Well, we're super excited for camp, and your kids aren't going and leaving us yet and kids, but it's going to be an exciting time when they get there. So thank you for watching this video. Hope to see you at camp or VBS this year.
Absolutely.